Welcome back to another episode of Uncut and Uncensored. And I'm joined in my home today by Kelly Lundberg, who is a business strategist and speaker. Welcome, Kelly, to the show.
Great to be here.
Well, I found you. I actually don't know how I found you, to be honest. I want to say Instagram. And you've spoken TED Talks and things like that. On my naughty puppy in the background. Um, hang on, Sergio. Sorry. My naughty. I've just got a Brussels Griffon and he is a pain, but I love him. Anyway, so I was thinking, because I just interviewed the founder of Poppy.
Yeah.
And she said she had a business, I think it was like a business therapist or business
Oh, wow.
strategist.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like somebody that she spoke to about growing her business, about the problems that founders go through, which is, was really interesting to me because I hadn't even heard of that. I've been a founder. Had 80 something employees. I know the stress of building a business.
Yeah.
And so when I saw your profile, I was like, it's so weird. Like it popped up. I mean, you know how
The algorithms.
how the rhythms
Yeah.
tend to do
Yeah.
that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to reach out because I want to know what that is.
Yeah. So I think the key part is business. I've been in business for the last kind of 20 years, and you learn so much in doing the business rather than just watching, reading, learning. And the business strategist for me, what I've honed in on is the personal brand side. So I believe that, yes, running a business, having the strategies, but ultimately it starts with you. And you are the best vehicle to promote your product, to promote your service, and it's got to start with you. And that's what I realized when I had my first business, which was a styling agency. So I've been in the Middle East for the last 23 years, started my first business 20 odd years ago. And
That's how I started. Sorry.
yeah,
Styling as well. Yes, personal stylist. And that's how I met my clients, which grew into my business.
yeah. And I think that's the whole thing with styling, personal presentation. But I realized that piece on branding was the connections that I got were not through the business. The connections I got were through the personal brand. They were through me. So as much as I had my business brand name, people connected through Kelly the stylist. That was how it all started. So I think kind of that explanation, and I did a masterclass yesterday and I asked people at the end, what's the one big takeaway? And this woman said how you explained where your personal brand sits in business. And I always say your personal brand is you and it sits always at the top. So Caroline's at the top, Kelly's at the top. Always. Now that keeps evolving because once you were a stylist, you've done a number of evolutions over the years, but your personal brand always stays at the top. Underneath that, you have all your businesses. You just had my styling agency. I had that for 15 years. I sold it. I had an online wedding registrar. I sold that. I've now got a branding business.
This is so weird. I had a wedding shop.
Yeah, did you really?
Yes. I was in Brown Thomas in Ireland. I had the wedding shop, UK. I bought it. All of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember even what the online wedding gift registrars. I had something because I sold that and it paid off the loan that I had for my first business and then made me debt free.
It's so crazy. I feel like we're the same person.
But underneath all those things sit, but they're all businesses. So now, you don't have those. That's not part of you, so they go.
Yeah.
But then your personal brand is still there. And all that knowledge that you've got from setting up and having your wedding business or the styling or all the experiences that you've done, that all then is part of your IP, your knowledge, and everything that you can package together into creating something else. And it's constantly you and constantly evolving.
No, 100%. And that's, what is so important. And I found that, just also launching all my different businesses now, that people come because they've been following me all the way since Ladies of London, which, even at my retreats currently, I get there and they're like, oh, we know exactly who you are. And
Yeah.
I think, when people say, how did you launch and why did the retreats become so popular? You're right, because I'm sure there's a ton of retreats out there,
Yeah.
a ton of them.
Yeah.
And why are we, doing so well? I guess it's because people want to meet me, not because my retreat is, well, is actually different. We don't do any of the yoga or anything like that. It's more of, connecting and going through other people's branding and their next steps. But you know what I mean? It's like they feel the trust
Yeah.
because they're expensive.
But all the things that you've done over the last 20, 30 years of experiences, you bring that into your retreats.
I do.
And that's the piece of the personal brand that no one else will be able to match that. They might be able to do similar ones, but they'll never be able to be you with your experience.
And get the connections I have and et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. I absolutely agree. And I think, that's what's so interesting about personal brands today, because I always say to people that actually do come and women that do come, it's not about the fact that I was on Ladies of London or Housewives or whatever. It's just watching me change, well, basically have 9 lives, have
Yeah.
be a cat, have exactly 9 lives. I've had huge businesses. I do the retreats, I do the podcast. I'm building over $50 million right now of real estate. I've got Airbnbs. What else do we do? I mean, so many things. I can't tell you what the wellness brand.
Yeah.
It's endless what we do right now. And I think you just sat down and told me I need a product, which I probably do too. But
Just something else to add in there.
yes,
But that whole piece, what people do is they come to me and they think that all their experiences are disconnected. But actually, they're disconnected pieces of greatness. And what I do is help them bring it together so that they can tell the story. So how that opportunity of the Ladies of London for you then resulted in this opportunity. The whole story is connected. It's just people can't always see it when they're in it. Oh, this is boring, or this doesn't make sense, or I don't know how to connect this, or why did I go here and now I'm here? But they are all created. And that's what makes you you. And no one else will ever be created like you. No one else will ever exist like you again. And it's capitalizing on that, especially in AI. In AI now, it can create content for you faster than you can ever do. But what it can't do is have your lived in experience. It can't tell exactly what that experience was like for you on a TV show all those years ago, what a TV show would be like now. You've got that lived in experience. And AI could give you an example of what it could be like, but you can tell the story with it. And that's where I think the brand strategy piece comes in, is how do you take all of that and communicate it so that people can then buy into your product or service or get promotion or whatever it is you want your personal brand to help you achieve.
well, I think founders in general get very, very lost because
Yeah.
I can only speak from my own experience. I remember when you start building a company from your dining room table, it's your baby. And then
Yeah.
obviously we all know a business is like a roller coaster. It just takes off.
Yeah.
And once it does, you lose control of a lot of bits of it.
Mm.
And it becomes overwhelming because, your employees, the people around you expect you to have the answer for everything. But actually, when you started it, it was just a little idea. You didn't really know how it was going to go.
Yeah.
And then when it does take off, you don't have all the answers. So I
Yeah.
think you get very overwhelmed. And there are just so many options today. Like, as you said, you should have the product. Well, I mean, I've tried lots of different things, and I'll tell
Mm.
you some of the things I've come up against. Number one, everyone loves my furniture,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I wanted to have a furniture line.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, when I first got to Dubai, everybody wanted my furniture line. All the stores said they'll take it.
Yeah.
But here you have to have, I think they wanted 60% of the profits, and then you become the same price as Fendi. Then I'm like, okay, there's not 60% in it. So, that was the first hurdle gone. Decided not to do it. I'm never going to sell it. Why would you buy mine over Fendi? Then I think the next one, I wanted to do whatever it was, like journals or this or that. And the shipping from here meant that
Yeah.
the shipping was more expensive than the journal. So I had hundreds of people that wanted them. So
So
many
true.
people wanted them.
Yeah.
And, I actually ended up writing on my own social media to people in DMs going, no, you can't buy it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. It's a challenge here.
I would say it's not worth it to you because it's going to cost you more to ship it. But thanks for asking. I mean, how bad is that? I'm telling people not to buy my own product.
It's
see what I mean?
true. Yeah. And I always say when I work with clients is you're often best placed to serve the person you once were.
Yeah.
So there's often a product or a service in helping the person that you once were.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if we were talking about the podcast and going through that journey of, being divorced, being there as well, but what would the Caroline then, the version of you then, what could you have really have done with?
Right. So yes, that's an interesting one because I do miss Divorce Not Dead. I do love it. Obviously, I'm happily married now, but again, being divorced was one of the most pivotal moments in my
Yeah,
life
I would say
because
the
I
same
just
for me
moved
as well.
here
Yeah.
and, it's much easier to stay than go. So all of the things happen when you get divorced, all of them. And I'm watching friends of mine terrified now. And I can only say it only gets better because of everything I've built. So what would I give people? Knowledge, I think.
Yeah.
I think the knowledge of what you're actually entitled to, what is real and not real. I think, people think they're going to get a lot more
Hmm.
than they actually do. And I think they fight too hard. And I think they lose sight of what's important in the end,
Yeah.
which is at the end of the day, you want to be able to have dinner with your ex. You want to go to, you know, parties, with them, whatever, birthday parties with
Yeah.
your kids, not literally other parties. But I had Christmas round the table with my three kids and my ex
Yeah.
this year. It's not ideal, but I did,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
So there could be something in that that you could help people, women, men, even in and again we could work it out more, but what would that look like? Could that be a platform that people could come to? Could it be an app? Could it be that you could even go through all your old podcasts that you did during that time because it was very real, and even use AI as well to pull out the things that you talked about to give you a framework, a system, a solution, something branded that then you can refer to as you go through with your product.
Oh, that's clever.
And then from there, it could be, so it could be anything. It could be something that people would go to at this time and know that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I've got my peptide coming, anti-aging peptide as well, of course. And now, but that again is another problem in itself because you have to have the right consent form signed, which I'll have to send everyone before you buy it, before you all get excited, because everybody wants my copper and my NAD, and I'm the first person to do it mixed with my
Very
my
cool.
partner.
Yeah.
So that's coming. That's really exciting. I don't know. I've got to say, I right now the biggest product I have is probably the
Yeah.
retreats because they are doing exactly what you said. They're going back to my roots of helping women, giving them knowledge. Okay, not always on divorce. The first one I did, weirdly, was a lot of divorcees who wanted more help
Yep.
and just seeing me have such a good life after my
Yep.
divorce. And honestly, I didn't get a giant settlement. It's not like I just took all this money and built my life.
Yep.
That's not what happened, especially because I was being sued at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way you can lose assets is actually let them all go, so I didn't fight.
Yeah.
So, I think that, and also I think, looking at those, the second one was all business.
Yeah.
They all wanted connection and meeting and ideas and just, I guess, having their hand held. A lot of women have the ideas and they have great ideas. They just don't know how to action it or literally just need someone to go, there you go, darling, you're on the right path.
Yeah. And just that first step. I
Hmm.
often find it's just that first step. But just to come back to the point of the peptides and even your previous experience, going through a transition and a transformation of divorce, glow up is a big part of that.
Uh, Listen, I'm all about the glow up. That's all I've ever done. I used to teach women how to get up and get dressed. And the same thing, like even though I'm in jeans, I still make sure I have the jewelry on, I have the makeup on, my hair. Okay, it's not done right now. I'm living in very weird times, people. But normally, I've got my Hermes slippers on right now. I love to dress,
Yeah.
whether I'm at home or not.
But that could be part of something also
Yeah.
that you help people with. But you
Yep.
could get experts in to also be part of that. So they're coming for you, but you could pull in other people into something that would really be that go-to place for women that are going to make this decision, or even before. For me, the I didn't know I was going to leave on the day. But so I maybe I would then have looked for it afterwards. But some people know beforehand and they need that
Does
courage to leave before.
Does anyone know they're going to leave on the day? That's what's so funny. I
I
think
don't know.
Instagram again gives this false sort of arena that, you know, everything's so easy and it looks so most women have thought about this for 5 years plus.
Yeah.
before they actually really take the leap.
Yeah.
From what I've spoken to, and I've spoken to a lot of women at this point,
Yeah.
women don't just say today's the day. Although, there's normally just a trigger
Yeah.
on that
That's
day.
a good point, actually. And it's not something that you expect it would be
Not
either.
at all.
Yeah.
It can be really,
Yeah.
really something small.
Oh, yeah, it really is.
And I think mine had a loo brush involved. I've just got to remember what it was, but anyway, I remember coming home and just going, that's it, I'm done. And I just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off right there. And I think, I didn't care about anything anymore. Before I was always thinking, this isn't the right time.
Yeah.
Should I, shouldn't I? But actually, it's the best feeling in the world when it's finally off your chest.
Yeah. I was in the Kiel car park. Mine, I'm not coming home today.
Oh, yours is better.
It was like, I'm not coming
You just
home.
called him.
Pardon?
He was there.
Yeah, we'd gone in to get some title deeds for a property in the Kiel. And then we had a big fallout about something. And I went, you can make your own way home. I'm not coming home. Go and do what you want to do. But I didn't know that was going to be
the last time.
Yeah, but that was it. And you're right. It's just that moment.
One thing too much.
Yeah.
And I think men don't understand that because they would keep going. And they don't understand that when a woman snaps, she snaps. It's over.
Yeah.
You
lose the respect and
nothing,
it's done.
Nothing that will get them back. And I think, I would say to men listening, when your wife tells you something, listen.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't. And I think, there are certain things that in life, it just, one day you get up and you go, that's it. Just absolutely done. And there's no way back. There was no way back for me.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things with the personal brand, this area that I talk about a lot at the moment is the identity lag. So what happens if we're talking about going through a divorce, for example, on a personal piece? One moment you have the identity of I'm married.
Being a wife, a mother.
All of that.
Or you're still a mother.
And then the next day, then I'm single. What does that life look like? Who am that person? How do I show up at events or parties? Or there's this. What I try and do with clients and their personal brand is really close that gap so they can really show up as that next version of themselves quicker.
Well, the trouble is in between that, you do sort of go through an identity crisis. And I think that crisis is, and it's a natural piece of it, by the way, ladies. I do feel that you have to have that a little bit. You need to have that time to grieve, to drink too much, to go out with your girlfriends, cry, get it out of your system, because the people that don't, it sort of hits you later. I think I do feel I can always tell a girl that's just come out of a divorce. I mean, not to go crazy, but just I think it's just important that you let everything out of your system.
But I think that whole piece of the identity, clothing, for example, how you show up,
your house.
Yeah, all of that kind
Decoration.
of changes. Yeah,
Look
all
at
of that
this.
changes.
This entire house is an expression of how I felt, which is like, I had a very sort of beige grown-up house before, and now I'm like this. I mean, you couldn't get more colors in here, and I'm doing more to it.
Yeah,
and it's so exciting because I can.
Yeah. So that sort of identity piece in all aspects, but I definitely think you've got a product in there.
Oh gosh, well, if you can think about it till by the time we get to the end of this podcast, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And so women come to you, or the
men. Yeah, men.
Men. Okay. So how they come to you and they say, what? I need direction for the business, or it's always just what the personal brand, or you're looking at the business as a whole?
Yeah, business as a whole. So the type of clients that I would get come to me are usually transitioning. So maybe they've been in corporate, but they want to transition their identity into business owner. They want to start doing something themselves. So they need to close that lag, that identity of that, and start showing up as that person that is the founder, the business owner, the speaker. Other people have businesses, but they're not maybe very visible. So maybe they don't know how to show up on social media. They don't know what to talk about. They don't know, or they might come to me and they'll be, I want to be a speaker. I want to go out.
How did you learn to do that? Because you're very eloquent.
Thank you. I love it. I've done a lot of it, but speaking one to many is the fastest way to grow your business.
Speaking.
One to many is the
Ah,
fastest way. So rather than, so you and I are speaking one to many. We are speaking one to one, but the tool is that
yeah,
it's going out in the
yeah.
podcast. That's the goal. So you've got to be a great communicator. I've dressed people for years when I had my styling business, and you'll know this, that when you can dress people and they look the part, but as soon as they open their mouth, then their credibility, their personal brand, it can go
I mean,
because they haven't got the skill or the practice or the knowledge to be able to communicate their message or what it is or who they can help.
I've always said it. I work in America, and obviously, with my accent alone, I could say and do anything, and they'll still clap for me.
It's
It's kind of the
lovely.
Lisa Vanderpump
Yeah,
effect,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I think they just are so enamored about the English accent that it
yeah,
doesn't, it sounds so regal before you've even started. They just have to take note. But I
yeah,
think, and as well with the British, with other people that are come from different parts of England.
yeah.
Obviously, people are like, "Oh, you're so posh," straight away. You're so posh, and that gets me through a lot of doors.
Part of your
Just
brand. Yeah,
it's part of your brand. But
yeah,
I'm not trying to be. It's
mm,
my this is my accent. This is the
yeah,
way I grew up. But it does separate you.
yeah,
It does make people listen to you. And it is at the tone of authority, I suppose. It
yeah.
doesn't really matter whether they understand you or not. They're listening to you.
But that's also your energy as well. So I think, so when I talk about taking people through a branding journey, we'll look at 7 parts. So we'll look at strategy. So what's the goal? What do you want to achieve? And that varies for everyone from what goals they want to set out. Maybe for you, it's, okay, I want to create some more products. What would that look like? For someone else, it might be, I want to do a TEDx talk. Someone else, it might be, I want promotion. Someone else, it might be, how do more people buy my product or service? So we've got to start with that strategy piece. How are you coming across? What are your brand values? What's important to you? What can you share that other people will find interesting? It's got to start with that strategy piece. So I do an audit. I look at all people's platforms, if they're posting content, and what's their positioning. And we'll do the personal brand values cards to understand what is important for them.
Right. So you gave me these. Is
Yeah,
that
well, this
good?
is a pack of 70 cards. And what I do, I've got a pack for teenagers and a pack for adults.
Okay, well, I
'Cause-
think I'll try the adult pack. Go on.
so
Are we doing it here?
we can do, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
So the idea is there's 70 cards, but what people do is if I say to you, tell me what your personal brand values are,
Hmm.
most people will go with, would you know what your values are?
No, authenticity.
Yeah. 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 I would say huge.
Yeah. Sort of bold,
Mm-hmm.
not being told what to do, following your own path is a
Yeah.
big one for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Freedom to choose anything you want.
Yeah.
Um, no.
But you should have about 5.
Oh, so I'm not
So
doing
they go, but
badly.
this is a start because then your content will reflect that. What I'd want to do is if I was working with someone and authenticity and freedom is the 2 that you've mentioned, I'd want to be able to maybe look through your last 10 posts and go, I can spot the authenticity. I can see that freedom means a lot to you. And we'd want to look at the other piece. But a lot of people go with the, oh, kind, integrity. They go with the things that people think they should say.
Hmm.
But I think the majority of people are kind. But what is it that is crucial to you? So that's when we would go through. So these are the starting piece because loads of people will come to me and go, okay, how do I post on social media for my personal brand? And I'm like, you're 4 steps down the line. Let's work out what do you want to do? What do you want to communicate? What's your positioning? And then the strategy piece, then we look at style. So your style is, yes, how you present yourself, clothing, first impressions, but it's also your communication style. People don't understand the way that they send a WhatsApp. They don't understand that when you actually send emails, if you were to do an audit of your last 10 emails, put them into AI, give it some really clear prompts, and then see how you actually come across. And it'd be interesting to see, does someone come across as warm? Does someone come across as competent? Does someone come across as direct and short? So then,
Very direct and short, me, because I don't like typing them at all. And actually, yeah, I can be rude, I suppose, to some people that aren't used to it.
so is that something as part of your brand that you could actually make a story of? So you could even have on your email signature from your emails that actually has just something fun. On my email communication is short and direct. It's nothing personal. And then it's just that way of positioning it, but it becomes part of your brand. Part of my brand is hiya. Like I'll always start a presentation with hiya. And that actually came from my dad doing the Father of the Bride speech a few years ago, and he stood up and told everyone what my first words were. And my first words were hiya. And it was such an aha for me when I was listening to this, because what would do in Scotland is shout hiya over the fence, and I would go, hiya, you want to come into the garden? And I would always get people into my garden. But it makes me think now, personal branding is all of that. It's inviting people into your shop window, your real estate, your LinkedIn, your Instagram. So there's 7 parts to it. You've got the strategy, style, and we can keep going. But you've got social media, you've got speaking, you've got spotlight, and ultimately everything's held together with storytelling.
Yeah, I think, looking at that sort of style, Ladies of London pointed that out to me because I saw myself in the office. And obviously, you're more of a pumped up version of yourself, but that was me. The girls did sort my jelly tots into colors. And, I would say things like, if you're coming into the office to cry, don't bother, stay out there, because I don't have time to cry, then you're not going to, kind of thing. And that was just the way I was. And they all came and look, there's one of the girls still works for me and the other girl is living in here. So, these are still some of the girls that were the closest to me in
Yeah.
this time. What that's almost 15 years ago are still here with me.
Wow.
So, I am rude and abrupt sometimes, but just because I have a very short period of time. And I think people understand now that I'm doing so many different things in so many different areas that if you want an honest answer, call Caroline. And it's just like that. I'm brutal. I remember my girlfriend, actually, Holly, just had a baby and she's like, do my legs look fat in these jeans? And I said, absolutely. And then she almost cried. Then she took them off and she goes, actually, this is brilliant. You're right. And so, it's just, I've always been like that.
Yeah, but that's part of your brand. But I think then people shy away from these kind of things, and I'd be like, own that. But there's ways that you can bring that in a playful way that then people don't take an email that they might get from you if they haven't met you in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so what is it we do is very much that brand. Who are you? How are you showing up? What are your goals? What do you
And
want
then
to
you
achieve?
supply a book for them.
So then we'll work through it. So it's
Yeah.
if it's one to one, we'll go through each week or each session, I should say, we would go through how you can improve on your personal brand. What are some of
Hmm.
the things you need to be working on? One of the parts that I love doing is helping create their own unique IP. So from all the knowledge that you've got, there is something in here that you can package and sell. Everyone has it. And what I love doing is taking all that knowledge that you've got, that is your unique IP, and creating your own unique personal branded system or solution. And
Mm.
for that then becomes the foundation to the next book, the podcast, the whatever it is. So it varies from client to client, but it's again looking at what are their personal goals. How do we reverse engineer? This is what I want. What do we need to do in order to get that? And always, when you invest in your personal brand, it has a direct impact on your business. And you speak to many. I even saw a stat that Stephen Bartlett was bringing out, and he was saying 70% of his revenue generated has come from a personal brand initiative. So it's not just business, it's come from his personal brand, and people really underestimate that. So it's looking at how you can build the business through using your personal brand.
No, I definitely saw that. And, I think the girl from Poppy said the same.
Yeah.
And, I think personal brand, as I said, it needs to be reevaluated. And when you're in it, again, it's very easy to get lost because you're so
You
busy
can't
doing
see it.
everything.
Yeah.
So I do think something like this, we'll have to have a part 2 and you'll have to come back and tell me, how we've done afterwards.
We'll do the cars and then I'll
Right.
give you a solution and then we can do the next one. We can do them afterwards.
Okay. And then, so what kind of money is something like this for a client coming to you?
Yeah, we've got 2 options. So one of the things that I started last year was a certification process, and now we can actually certify people with their own personal brand. So we can help them. That's one option where we get them certified. They learn how to do their own personal brand, but then they can also bring that into their business model. And I think everyone's business has an opportunity, even yours, talking about how you transition and transform. There's an element of personal brand in that
Hmm.
as well,
Hmm.
and how you show up. So that starts at 5,000 US. And then to work one-on-one, we do complete brand audit. We do website development, brand assets. So you've got the digital representation and the strategy, and that starts from 15,000 US.
Okay. And so then you do the colors, everything?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if we're going through the whole brand, so then we just look at your whole website and go, how are you representing yourself on digital version? Are you showing up consistently on digital? How are you showing up on your podcast, all your assets, everything that's underneath
So
that?
what type of founders you, because you said you were working with men as well, like
Yeah,
do men find this easy? Can't be easy for a man to sort of look at themselves in the mirror and see all of this.
you're spot on. So my clientele for men is definitely smaller.
Yeah.
Women for sure. And I don't know why. Is it because they are much happier about doing introspection, reflection? How do they show up? Or is it that they want to spend more time on how they come across? But I would definitely say females in particular are much embrace the personal brand piece than men do. I don't know if it's also they think maybe they don't need to do it. They have a brand already.
Well, I mean, to build a really good personal brand, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I always say that you have people making fun of you. I've leaned into the gossip, the cougar, I don't know, all the stuff that I'm too old, or and that's when I do my Benjamin Button and all of the stuff,
Yeah.
right? So, and I just keep. I think when people want to knock you down, especially doing the kind of shows that I've done,
Yeah.
I've just come out the other end and said, well, here it is,
Yeah.
here it is, here it is. And so even my everything is branded the same. So I built my personal brand very much on, if you go to my apartments, that's my apartment.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
If you go to, anyone that walks in here will know this is my house. You know, anyone that comes on my retreat will definitely know that's no ordinary retreat. I
Yeah.
don't know anyone doing them the same way we do them, as
Yeah.
you just said,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's an incredible experience, from the dining table to this to that, which people don't really think of when
Mm.
they're doing them, because that's not normally on a retreat a big part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I don't do, sound healing and yoga really, because I started that way, putting it in, but the
Didn't
woman
want it.
showing up to mine didn't want
Yeah.
that, which is great, because I was only really doing it because I thought I should,
Yeah.
not because I really wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that. So it's exactly, I've spent 30 years absolutely building a brand of who I am.
Yeah. So there's definitely a product in there. I reckon by the end of the year, you could easily have something out there that complements even the retreats. In addition to that,
Well, I've now just I've opened a hair salon too. I don't know if here. And this morning, all our hair products arrived, which is really excited, in our own label as well. So we've got hair sticks and clips and all of this sort of stuff to go with the salon. And that's been really, really fun too. And then we're building, I don't know, a boutique hotel in Bali.
ah,
So that's really coming along right now. So we should be, phase one should be done at the end of the summer. So there'll be products that we need to make for that too.
so you have
Um,
all of that on your personal branded website. All of these things that you do.
Maybe not all of them. Every single one is on there. So there you go. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the new community isn't. No, we've got one big community arriving too. So,
Nice.
which was my actual dream. My actual dream. I think the one thing I didn't have left that I really wanted to do was build a community that I can grow old in, with people I like.
Love it. Where
And
about?
we've doing it just off Zanzibar, on an island.
Okay.
And people have seen the big house that I've been building,
Yeah.
or that I've been designing, but that will have a central meeting point, and then everybody has their homes, and then we can all look after each other's houses if we're traveling.
Great idea.
Yeah. And that's due to launch in the next month or so. I think on Friday we're going to finalize the all the furniture and the finishes and things like that. So that's really exciting. So I don't know. It's not that I'm not doing anything. I'm not just sitting here, twiddling my thumbs. It's just, I think I get overwhelmed, and I know I'm overwhelmed, that I know there are other things I could be doing. And that, I think the problem I have, if I really analyze myself, is the scale up, because I've scaled up before
Mm-hmm.
to such a big size that I'm kind of nervous to do that again, because if I
You
want
have
to
to want
quit,
to do it as
I know.
well. Yeah.
And if I want to quit or sit down tomorrow, I can.
Yeah.
And I didn't have that option when I had a huge fund involved and everything else. But then each thing is so different that, obviously with building a boutique hotel, my investors are friends, so that's
Yeah.
amazing. I would never quit on them, and
Yeah.
they're not going to quit with me, but it's a more relaxed atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I think that's really it. That's the only thing I feel I may be missing in my life, which is, you're right, the killer hero product. But I know that I'm working on so much at the moment. We've got two Bali retreats that we're launching right now.
Hmm.
That's 40 women that, how many phone calls and leads that is for what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And we have to vet every single woman. If you get a bad egg on one of those
Yeah.
retreats, it's
You
not a
can't,
lot
you
of fun.
can't, they can't go anywhere.
We can't go anywhere. They can't go anywhere. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
So, there really is a thought process to the type. And weirdly, all the women that show up, we kind of look like mini versions of me. It's very funny.
Part of their brand.
But yeah, I'd love to
The
do it.
Caroline glow up.
Yeah, there are so many things I want to do. I'm sure there's so many things that you want to do. Do we ever stop?
No, and I think that's the whole thing, that people think that their personal brand is a done deal,
Yeah.
and it's never done.
No.
And this whole reinvention, I think people, women in particular, have to embrace reinvention. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. And we should keep reinventing. We don't want to still be the same version of ourselves 6 months ago, a year ago. If I think back to even at the start of this year, how I was showing up and my attitude and outlook versus now, given the conflict that's gone in and how my business has changed and the things I need to be looking at, that version of me is already evolved.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I think I live here as well, and am doing so well. Again, I wanted to change the version of me, and I thought I should go back to wearing like power suits and getting dressed in the morning. And I really thought about it. I was like, let's change my website, let's put me on like that, and then I thought, what am I doing? I think this is me. Like, I have some of the biggest contacts in the world, and I still go like this. And I'm like a Birkin girl, and I love, but I'm not a black girl. You'll never see me in black. I just
Yeah.
don't wear it,
Yeah, yeah.
I think that already, the way I dress, the jewelry I put on, whether it's, whatever it is, it already elevates you.
Yeah.
You get the right handbag, it elevates you. I don't want to change who I am. I'm a fashion girly. I love all of that, um, I love makeup. I love bright colors, but you're much more suited and booted than me, but that
Yeah.
suits you.
Yeah, yeah. Silent signals.
Yes.
That's the piece, and people underestimate that. But all of that sends a silent message to people, and these are subtle things that you can be doing.
I don't think it's that silent. Like, I'm looking at you and I'm
Yeah.
listening to you because you feel more powerful than I am.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because of the way you're dressed. And then it makes me reevaluate. Here I am in my fluffy slippers and my yellow. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm just as powerful. So I have to remind myself, that I've been doing this for years, and, we are super successful right now. So, I've got it, but I sometimes lose that because I get distracted by other people
Yeah,
who
yeah.
are dressing a different way, or because it does mesmerize you. So it does work, ladies. Let me tell you, it does work, because sometimes if I'm not in the right clothes and everybody else is all, you've got heels on. I haven't worn heels in God knows how long.
I love it.
Don't
I
even
did
think I know
a
how to walk in them.
I did a speaking event. I have reduced my heel height though over the years. Like I used to shopping. I would always wear a pair of Christian Louboutins, super high, but I couldn't do that now. But I did do a speaking event. I was kind of inspired by Mel Robbins, and I saw that she did a lot of speaking events in trainers
Yes.
and Golden Goose, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try that. It was the worst thing I ever did. Even though if I took a picture, I liked the outfit, it just wasn't me. And this is the thing, you could borrow ideas and get inspiration from people, but ultimately you've got to feel it. And I think that's one of the things that I still love with the styling when it comes to the brand piece, that styling is such a fast way to bring that future version of you to now.
Oh, 100%. You can tell so much about a person to see what they gravitate into in their wardrobe.
Yeah.
And, people, doing what I do, people have always tried to put me in things. And obviously, when I do Housewives, to be honest, I'm too tired to fight. So, sometimes I'll just wear whatever they give me because, frankly, I could give two shits. But then I always come back to who I am and
Yeah.
how I'm most comfortable. And I'm most comfortable in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, no
Yeah.
matter what I do. That's just, and I can put fabulous diamonds on with it, and I have fabulous handbag collection, and that then I still feel
Oh, your
just as amazing.
brand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my brand.
Yeah.
Obviously, but the funny thing is when I'm invited to speak, I can't do that. You can't rock up in a pair of blue jeans and a white t-shirt. You just can't, because people think you didn't make the effort. Where I tend to disagree. I just think life's changed.
Yeah, but I think there is ways you can do that. And I would always urge that with clients, that you still got to be authentically you to a point. So what tweaks can you do, or what would you do that still feels you? I
Mm.
definitely think there are elements of that, and it depends where you're going. But there's also that reflection of, like I asked you today, what are you wearing for the podcast? It's also that you want to not fit in, but to feel. I don't want to be so overdressed that the guest, if it's vice versa and it's my podcast, that they feel uncomfortable. I think there's always that. What vibe are you going for? Okay, great, then I'll wear something that works for me, but tailor it into your own style.
There are so many things that women can do for themselves at this stage. Just changing my makeup made such a difference to me.
Yeah.
Cutting my hair off again. I think I've been told that, everyone wanted long, gorgeous blonde hair, and it just never suited me. Every time I put it on, I was like, okay, I'll try it for a bit. I ended up wasting all this money just cutting it straight off again.
Yeah. Extensions. I've been there, tried it. It
Yeah.
just doesn't work for me
Yeah.
either.
I have a few here because I like the flip, but
Yeah.
with this long look just is not for me. But I think look, finding the best version of yourself will always be your best asset.
Mhm. Yeah.
No one can walk into a room and give you. I don't believe anyone has like boundless sort of non when you're not scared to show up. I think everybody, I don't care who you are, I don't care how many times you've been on stage, gets worried just before you go on
Yeah.
or gets nervous. And I've just learned to get on. And I've learned also that you can't really make a mistake because people are coming to see you. They're so happy to see you. And they're kind. As
Yeah.
you said, everyone's so kind. I used to get nervous when I did my retreats. Now I walk in and I'm understood that there's no prepping for it because it's so bound by the women that show up that day.
Yeah.
And so, that's what's so wonderful about it, because they're nervous, you're nervous, and that's what gives you such a great bond, I suppose, with these people,
Yeah.
with all these people that have come to see you. You're just as nervous as they are.
Yeah, but it's the energy that I think you bring as well. That's the energy of who you are, and they feel that. And then the energy that you feel is also in the clothing and how you wear it and the makeup, and that feeling that you transmit to people. But I think people really underestimate that their personal brand and how they show up is the vehicle for creating the life that they want. Partnerships, collaborations. If you think about all the collabs that you've done with incredible brands and opportunities that have opened doors for you, has been because of your personal brand.
I've always said that. I may not get the deal. I may not get what I want, but I can open the door.
Yeah, but that could lead to something else.
Absolutely.
And I think especially for, you know, when thinking about even going back to sort of the divorce and thinking that life doesn't get better. Life has only got better and better and better. And the new version of you that keeps showing up opens up more opportunities. And you create that.
So, what advice for women listening today would you give them, sort of to take home to start something like this, to analyze who they are today? I know you brought this mirror and we didn't get
Yeah,
a
there's
chance to
actually
do
some,
it.
if you open it up,
Hmm.
there's some prompts, and I think that would be a really good place for people to start. So, what I get people to do is look in the mirror at themselves, which is really hard. And,
Can't read it.
and when they look at themselves in the mirror,
Here you are, ladies. So, this is your takeaway.
yeah, 2 minutes of looking at yourself in the mirror and then asking these questions.
What would you use to describe yourself right now, very honestly?
Yeah.
Um, oh, sorry, what words? Were you playing smaller than you're capable of? I think we've all done that. I think we all have this terrible thing of like trying to be humble, play humble, and it doesn't work.
Not now. There's a quote that I say: "Humble is beautiful, but it's expensive."
Yeah, good one. What do you believe about yourself that might not actually be true? Well, yeah.
when we start writing these things down and asking ourselves, this reflection piece is really hard, but people don't give themselves time to reflect on who they are and how they're coming across.
And if no one was watching, who would you be? Oh, I'll leave you with that. I love this.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, there's ones for the perception of who you are,
Yeah.
who you think you are.
Yeah.
Then there's the version
That
that
other
other
people
people
see.
think. And then there's the future version.
Oh God, I
And
can't even imagine what people
what
think
I
of me.
would want to do with clients is go, that future version of you. So if I was to take my goals last year was to do a second TEDx. So that goal, how do I make that future version of me appear quicker so that I can get those opportunities? And it's the prep that you put in, or it's believing that you've already got it, not fake positive, but going, like, I knew that last year I would do another TEDx, didn't know how I would do it, but
Are you on a speakers like community?
yeah, people, so through LinkedIn, the opportunity came up. So I was always posting on LinkedIn that I was a speaker, that I do go in and speak in places and I can communicate. But I actually wrote out the concept of what I would do my TEDx talk on before the opportunity presented itself. So it was already there. It was already happening. So I think people don't spend enough time on what do I want to achieve, and then reverse engineer that back and use your personal brand as the vehicle to achieve that.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you, Kelly. I've really, really
You're
enjoyed this.
welcome. It's my pleasure.
It's been fascinating and I could talk to you all day. Tell everybody how they can find you.
Kelly Lundberg Official. So kellylundberg.official on Instagram. kellylundbergofficial.com is my website. And I reply to all messages. So come and say hi. Or
There
come
you
and
go.
say hiya. That's when we'll know how many people have remembered and listened all the way through to the message.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Uncut and Uncensored. Don't forget to rate and review.